Welcome back. TTArtisan just launched their 35mm F1.8 version 2. And the version here is key because this is not the first time they tried. They already released a year ago or so the previous version, the 35mm F1.8 Mark I. And when I reviewed that lens, I immediately highlighted a couple of issues. The autofocus wasn't super reliable. The flare was terrible. It would flare from, even looking at it, it would flare. And the minimum focusing distance was too far away from the lens. So when TTArtisan contacted me, and here comes the disclaimer, TTArtisan sent me the lens to review and I get to keep it, but they don't get to know what I think, they don't get to know what I'm gonna say. They will see the video the same way you're seeing it, the same moment you're seeing it. So they don't get to know anything in advance. I wasn't asked to say anything and I wasn't paid aside from being sent the lens. When they told me, hey, we know you reviewed the previous version and we know also that you highlighted a couple of things. Well, with the new lens that we're releasing, we would like you to try out because with the new lens, we fixed the coatings, so you should have less flare. We fixed the autofocus and we made it also smaller, more lightweight. And also we reduced the minimum focusing distance. So when they told me all of that, I didn't really believe that they were able to do all of that and get it right. But I said, yes, why not try it? And so they sent me the lens. Well, spoiler alert, this lens is probably, I would probably call this lens the best buy of the end of 2025 because it's really good. I mean, they said something and they actually delivered on that promise. But let's just go by steps and start talking about the lens. And so from a construction standpoint, the lens is made of aluminum. The exterior frame is made of aluminum. The rear of the lens is made of metal. It doesn't feel cheap at all, with the only exception of the pedal hood, which not only feels cheap, which it's a hood, who cares? It feels weird from a design standpoint on this lens. I don't know how to explain that. The lens is all rounded. This pedal hood is squarish, but not square. It's weird. So not it's not that it's cheap, it's just it feels like out of place on this lens. But at the end of the day, it's a pedal hood, it's a hood, who cares? As usual with TTArtisan, the rear lens cap acts also as a USB port, has a USB-C on the rear cap, so you don't have a USB-C on the lens because the lens isn't weather sealed. It's a $125 lens, so you should expect it. But the good thing is, by putting that on the rear lens cap, you don't have to buy accessories, you don't have to do anything, and you can still update the firmware. So again, aside from the hood, you cannot complain. It's a very good lens. It comes also in a pretty luxury package, despite the cost of the lens. And so, really well done. Front filter is 52 millimeters. Nothing to write home about, but nothing to complain also, because usually for $125 you would expect everything being plastic. This one isn't. From an optical standpoint, the first thing that I went to try out was the flare, because the previous version was terrible when it comes to flare. This one is a complete different story. It's really good. It's really good. I mean, it's not perfect. Every lens shows some flare, and we should accept it, especially if you're paying $125. And this one specifically does really good. I mean, I tried to make it flare, but realistically, it's way more than acceptable. It's a good performance. Now, of course, this doesn't mean anything. It can be the best lens against the flare, but if it's not sharp, what is it good for? And the good thing is, this lens is also sharp. Now, on a 40 megapixel sensor, the XT50, this lens performs really good already wide open. The center is really good. The corners an f1.8 aren't bad either, are not bad at all. And as you stop down, there's marginal improvement until you get to f4, where the corners get a bit better. And they keep improving up until f8, but center sharpness remains really good from f1.8 to f8. What you get at f8, you get a much more even performance corner to corner. But again, very good performance. I like the colors as well. The bokeh isn't bad. I mean, of course, it's not your dreamy bokeh that you get with the f1.2 lenses that cost $3,000 each. You should not expect that. But this one is not bad, and for the price, you get the chance to blur the background, and you do it in a pretty reasonable and in a pretty decent way. The fact that it can focus closer than the predecessor at 40 centimeters makes a whole lot of a difference, because when you have a lens that you can blur the background with, you tend to get close because you want to get more details, you want to blur the background more. And 40 centimeters, while not the best, because there's lenses that do better, it's now usable in pretty much all the conditions. And even the fringing, this lens is not free from it, but it's reasonable. Again, for $125, you get a lens that optically performs really, really good, and something that I will be using as my main freedom lens when it comes to birthday parties, stuff when I need light gathering and I need a fast lens and I want to be still be lightweight, because this lens on the XT50 is a dream. It doesn't weigh anything. It's 176 grams, something like that. It doesn't weigh anything. It's super easy to handle. Very, 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 very easy. So optical performance, really good. And the autofocus is really, really good. While the previous version was iffy at times, this one nails it. It's very, very reliable. I didn't feel in any circumstance that I couldn't trust the autofocus, and that is a big, big thing, especially for inexpensive third-party lens. Usually, autofocus is where you tend to struggle, but this is not the case. When you see that this is an inexpensive lens is when it comes to video, because this lens clearly not optimized for video. Not that it's not usable, but it's got a huge focus breathing. But when I mean huge, I mean, when I say huge, I mean it. And also the autofocus is kind of reliable. I mean, if you're staying like in a situation like this where you're pretty much at the same distance from the subject most of the time, it does well. But the problem is you feel the motors are not linear when you start following a subject that goes towards the camera or goes away from the camera. You see big steps in following the subject. So definitely not the smoothest of the lenses when it comes to video. But again, you're paying $125. That's key here. And I believe this lens isn't meant to be a hybrid lens. This is meant to be a photography lens for photographers, because usually hybrid shooters tend to look at a lot of stuff and they tend not to buy these super inexpensive lenses because they know they want something that for video, while for photography is more demanding on the optical side, for video is more demanding on other aspect of the lens, and they know that hybrid lenses, they're gonna need to spend more. This one, however, it's not unusable for video, it's just not optimized. And so this lens, for me, is a best buy, because for $125, and I keep repeating myself, $125 is key while evaluating this lens. This lens punches way above its weight class when it comes to performance, optical performance, especially for photos. This lens is it's actually a good lens. It's not just a good lens for $125. This is a very good lens, comma. The fact that it costs $125 is a marvel, and the fact that it's not cheap plastic, but it's made of aluminum and it's built really well. It's another addition to the Best Buy type of scenario that I'm giving you. I don't think you're gonna get much better than this in this price range. Yes, you can get better lenses. I mean, the 33 f1.4 from Fuji is a better lens, but that lens costs 5 times, 6 times as much as this one. So, of course, if you're shooting for perfection, you're gonna look at something else. But if you want an affordable, lightweight, reliable, very good lens for photography, This is it. This is definitely it. And I didn't expect to be able to say it. It's just the second attempt from TTArtisan and they nailed it. So I now ask one thing to the guys at TTArtisan. I will pay not any type of money, but I will pay a good amount of money if you made a very good 18mm f1.8 for my Fujifilm cameras. This is a lens that is lacking in the system. I mean, there's a Fujifilm version, but it's 10 years old. If you can expand this lineup, keeping the prices at a lower range with good image quality, you're gonna sell tons of these lenses. So expand the lineup. Do it, guys. Do it, because this one's really good. Guys, thank you for watching. This is my last video before Christmas, so I wish you Merry Christmas and wish you to enjoy your holidays, for those who can get some holidays, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!